The unenlightened mind says there's pain and there's suffering and there's death. Where is this loving God? The enlightened mind says there is a loving God. Where is this pain and suffering and death? It's a hologram. You see the pain and the suffering, or you see the life. You see illusions or truth. You see unforgiveness or you see forgiveness, and it's a choice. That's the thing about the hologram, it's a choice. And we've been making a choice for a long time. A long, long time. And what we're seeing isn't true. But because it's a choice, we can change our mind. What we see is a fact, actually. It's just a fact. It's there. What it is that is really there. But what we actually see is an interpretation of that fact, because we're projecting something inside of us that allows us to, well, breaks down the possibility of seeing what is really there. It's an interpretation, that's all. We have something inside we don't want, so we throw it out. And is that what we see? It blinds us to what it is really there. But appearances changed to truth before the eyes of him who rests in God. So when we rest in God, the healing comes about, and we no longer have that need to project. And so what we see is really what is there. We see through the eyes of Christ. We see what is real. And that what is real is beyond the appearances. The appearances are the projections. So seeing is what it is that we're being. When we're being what it is that we actually are, which is love, then we see the manifestations of that love, the love of God in form. We see the face of Christ. On top of the projection, we also want to interpret what it is that we projected. We want to evaluate it to see what it is that we want from it and what we can take from it. And that's the judgment. And that also blinds us to what is really there. And we remain blind until we decide that this doesn't work. And we learn that we need to eradicate judgment from our minds so we can actually see truly. And we attempt to do that. But it's very difficult. Because when we try to stop judging, when we use determination in order to bring a cessation to judgment, we have a very, very difficult task. It's like trying not to think of elephants. And we think of elephants. So the way around that is to actually determine to see what it is that is there, really there, and that automatically and naturally precludes the judgment without actually trying. I want to see. I am determined to see. I am determined to see things differently. And when I'm determined to see things differently, when I'm determined to see what is really there, I forget the elephant. But make no mistake, hallucinations serve a purpose. Let me just read what it says in the course on that point. It says, judgment is but a toy, a whim, the senseless means to play the idle game of death in your imagination. But vision sets all things right, bringing them gently within the kindly sway of heaven's laws. What if, listen to this, what if you recognize this world is an hallucination? What if you really understood you made it up? What if you realize that those who seem to walk about in it to sin and die, attack and murder and destroy themselves are wholly unreal? Could you have faith in what you see if you accepted this, and would you see it? Well, clearly not. Clearly not. But that's the choice that we've made. And that choice stands until we change our mind. But we have that capacity to do that because it isn't a hologram that we're looking at. We're seeing, first of all, we're seeing the crucifixion, which is what we seem to be experiencing. The separation from God is a crucifixion. And it's a choice that we've made to see that and be that. Or we can see the risen Christ. We can see the resurrection. We can see what it is that is really there, because that is eternal. You remember the film, The Passion of the Christ? That was a beautiful adaptation of the Passion. And it was incredibly skillfully and artistically brought about. Mel Gibson produced it and directed it, and Jim Caviezel played the part of Christ. And he suffered on the cross. He was struck by lightning and had heart problems and dislocated his shoulder. And there was a lot of real investment made by those two people in that film. And the effect of it was a real work of art. It was amazing, a truly wonderful film. And it caught you, it brought you into it. It affected you very strongly. And there was no way out of that. That was a wonderful, wonderful production. But the thing was that it was doing the same thing again. It was just simply painting the same picture on a different canvas. It was beautifully done, but it represented what it is that we've always believed, and that is that the crucifixion was necessary as a part of the resurrection. That was a sacrifice. What we've learned, that's not true. That isn't true. The Course in Miracles has taught us that was the last useless journey. It wasn't essential at all. We have the understanding that the crucifixion was the cause of the resurrection, that the two went together. You have to have the crucifixion and pay for your sins and suffer and die in order to have the glory of God. But there is no connection between the two in that sense. There is no cause and effect relationship. The cause of the resurrection, which is not a moment in time, it's eternal, is not in this world. It is not in time and space. It's in God. And the real relationship between the crucifixion and the resurrection is the resurrection demonstrates that the crucifixion is an illusion. So there's no price to pay. And that is what sets us free. But again, it's this hologrammatic view that allows us to change our mind and see, oh, this is a real choice. I can see I need to amend for my sins and pay the price. Or I can see that it's an illusion, and what I'm really looking at is the resurrection and the life. I can choose death or I can choose life. I can choose hell or I can choose heaven. I can choose a crucifixion or the risen Christ. And all of that is what it is that I believe myself to be. Am I a body or am I a spirit? Am I a human being seeking enlightenment? Am I a human being seeking through some spiritual practice to discover who I am? Or am I the Holy Son of God, perfect and whole and complete and perfect now? It's a choice. But the crucifixion does have a value in one sense, because it is what it is that we're experiencing. And we can't discard it. That's not the way through the illusion. We have to look at it. We have to see it. We have to go through it and discover that it actually isn't real. And we can only do that when we see it through forgiving eyes. We can only do that when we hold the hand of Jesus and go up to it and face it. And we'll take away that dark cornerstone and throw it to one side and bring out all the stuff that we've hidden, all the pain and the suffering, all the guilt and the shame, and expose it. Now, there may be a moment when we go through some difficulty and pain in order to do that. But then we discover on the other side of that pain and difficulty is what it is that we really are. And we set ourselves free, not by amending, not by paying a price for what it is that's happened, but by recognizing it never happened. That's the glory of the resurrection, the glory of what it is that we'd be given as a truth from the Course of Miracles. And it's a choice. When you've looked on what seemed terrifying and seen it's changed to sights of loveliness and peace, when you've looked on scenes of violence and death and watched them change to quiet views of gardens under open skies, with clear, life-giving water running happily beside them in dancing brooks that never waste away. Who need persuade you to accept the gift of vision? And after vision, who is there who could refuse what must come after? Think but an instant just on this. You can behold the holiness of God, the holiness God gave his Son, and never need you think that there is something else for you to see. So we have a choice. How do we want to see the world? How do we want to see life? How do we want to see each other? Don't put any value on your brother's body. That's another block, you see, that will stop you from seeing what is really there. But in the same principle that we've just outlined, you can't stop seeing your brother's body by a determination not to see it. But what you can do is be determined to see what is really there, beyond the body, to see the sinlessness in your brother. And when that determination is there, and remember, that's not just a flick of the wrist, it's not just an idea in the mind, it's a heartfelt longing and yearning and desire, a true desire. And that heartfelt yearning and true desire will show you what is really there beyond the body, and you won't see the body. Well, at least you won't see it the way you see it now. As long as you're in this body and looking through these mortal eyes, you will see it, but it won't mean anything to you, because you'll be seeing what is really there in your brother. You'll be seeing his sinlessness. And as the Course says, you'll hardly be able to stop yourself from kneeling at his feet in gratitude and love for what it is that you're seeing. Because you'll be seeing your own innocence. You'll be seeing your own reality. And you'll have passed the course. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Peace be with you.